back again for another video. Today we will be discussing, does he hate you? Now this is a question that many men have asked before, and we have fondled with the notion and the idea that women might secretly not like men in some way, shape, form, or fashion. How should we come about this conclusion? Well, let's describe what hate is. I don't have any definitions in front of me, but we're going to go with the technical definitions that I understand and also the social definition that I understand as well. The technical definition is a high disregard or despise for something, meaning that at all costs, in any situation, no matter the circumstances, there would never be a time where you favor such a thing. The social term of hate is a high dislike for something, but that dislike can interchange based on circumstances. I've heard people say all the time, well, I hate cleaning my house, but really, do you hate cleaning your house because you like a clean house? Let's be real here. So it isn't something that is a hard set rule or a hard set fact in regards to the social definition of what hate means. Now, in regards to how women play into this, how does she display either or in regards to her seemingly dislike of something or her seemingly hate of something? Sorry, I had a call, so the audio is probably going to be a little different. But anyway, how she displays her hate or dislike for something. She does this in many ways. It's usually passive aggressive, to be honest. Because women understand, for the most part, that they are no competition for most of the things that they step up to, and how they see a threat. They don't engage like men do. So they're very passive aggressive about how it comes down to how they deal with it. This is the reason why they call the police. This is the reason why they appeal to a higher authority to execute what they should be doing on their own. This is the reason why we have family court and etc. Because women, they don't generally like to attack things head on. They like to have a degree of plausible deniability to how they handle these things. But the topic, how does she display her dislike or hate for you? Well, in my experience, I've been around the world. I've been to several different countries, several different continents. I've been to a lot of places, pretty much, like I said. And I've ran across many different types of women from many different types of cultures. I've dated many women from different types of cultures. As you know, I speak a little Nihongo, it's Japanese. So I've interacted with a lot of women from different backgrounds. And they display their dislike for me as an individual very differently than, let's say, BWs. From my experience, the way they display it is more, it's still passive aggressive, but they display it more like they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with anything that I have to say or anything that I want to engage in. They're very unavailable, pretty much. Rarely aggressive. I've never run into a woman that was aggressive outside of my own culture. And that's not me saying it as a bias or me to win you over, that BWs are somehow so horrible or something like that. No, that's just been my personal experience. I don't know what other men have experienced. I hear similar sentiments, but for the most part, what I'm saying comes from my own personal experience. I've always said that. But when it comes to BWs, they're very they're very in your face. You know, they are very entitled to your energy, regardless of what the circumstances may be. They display it, like I said, very differently than other women. And this comes from the ownership mentality. You know, how dare you not meet the standards that I want you to meet, even though I'm not giving anything of reciprocity in return. It's unfortunate. But on the other side of it, when they are passive aggressive, which is the majority of it, they shoot innuendos at you. You know, they shoot hints at you that you're somehow gay, or that you're somehow you have a small penis, or you know, these who hurt you. You know, the same things that we hear all the time here in the manosphere, but this actually happens in real time too as well. For the most part, like I said, this is my personal experience. For the most part, my own personal experience, I've been accused of these things, and I'm like, what does that have to do with you know, the groceries? What does this have to do with the children being picked up today? You know, what does this have to do with the work that you said you were going to complete? What does my penis size have to do with anything? I mean, we can go there, but this isn't that kind of channel. I don't have that type of problem. But nonetheless, I've been attacked in very different ways. But the crazy thing about it is the attacks that I've received from BWs depend on how much they know about me. A lot of the women who accuse me of all these things that the women who know me don't, is the difference in their proximity to me. The closer a woman is to you, the more precise she makes her passive aggressive attacks to you and her dislike for you. So when you get these general who hurts you things, these are nothing but projections, you know, because women seem to believe that just the same things that affect men in the way that they do, the same things that make them feel bad or, you know, horrible, works on men. Like, I guarantee you, if I talk about their dryness, they'll be all up, bent out of shape, you know, or if I talk about, you know, what guy hurt you, you know, that stuff works on females, you know, as far as shaming language. But it's kind of weird that through the history of shaming language that men have experienced, and their disdain for certain types of men, they keep using these same tactics because they don't know us. They don't know how men operate. This is a clear indication of that, when they try to shame you based on all these existential things instead of intrinsically who you are, because they don't know who you are. And the other portion that I want to get to is the larger portion of it, which stems from what I was just talking about it. How I know a woman does not like black men, because, for instance, I don't have any type of intimate relationships with my animals. I don't. You know, I have an intimate understanding, and I guess you can regard it as a certain type of intimate relationship, but it isn't one based on mutualism. You know, it's not based on I see you as a part of me, or who I am, a representation of who I am, and that gives me a different lens to look at my animals. You know, I look at them as animals. They're animals. That's what they do. You know, even though I love and I care about them, they're still animals nonetheless. They are part of my ownership. So my scrutiny and my chastisement of them isn't going to come from a place of a mutual understanding. This is the sentiment that has been echoed throughout the manosphere, that BWs do not see you as human, damn near. They don't see you as equal. They don't see you as somebody that's worth consideration. So that's where and that's not all BWs. These are the BWs that I'm talking about in regards to the ones that don't like you. They hate you, in so many words. They don't have a regard for your human attributes, because they don't see themselves necessarily as human either. They see themselves as something set aside from humans that's somehow above human, which we see is very differently, because quite frankly, every demon that's been described from all types of mythologies, they see themselves as very differently than and above what humanity is, but humanity views them as evil, and they view them as lesser. And this is the quandary that we get into in regards to these types of women and black men, because it's not just our race, but I'm fixated on our race because it's only our race who has the close proximity. Remember that the passive aggressiveness becomes very specific depending on the proximity of relationship to the individual, and that's how I see it. And this is the reason why we get a certain level of shaming language, a certain level of passive aggressiveness, a certain level of hate from women within our own sections of race, regardless of race. But I want to talk more specifically about what it looks like as well, because like I said, I'll go back to the, are you gay? Who hurt you? These things are meant to show their dislike for you before even getting to know you, right? This is how you know that these women do not like black men, because they don't take in consideration your humanity, and they place upon you scrutiny based on their dislike for you. I often say that a person's critique of another says more about the individual who is giving the critique rather than the person who is receiving the critique. And this is true positively and negatively, because if I'm giving my child a critique based on what I understand, for instance, let's go down a hypothetical of, fire will hurt you. And I'm telling my child, hey, you keep your hands out of the fire because it'll burn you. This is a critique based on my perspective. Yes, it's saying to them, this is something that you shouldn't do, or maybe it's describing something that they are, like maybe they're clumsy, so you should stay away from this type of thing because you can get burned. Regardless, it's based on my perception of them, when in all actuality, my perception is flawed. No perception is perfected in its way of how it perceives the reality. It's all subjective to the individual, but it's objective, it's all subjective when compared to the reality, but it's subjective to the individual and how they focus their attention through that lens of subjectivity of their perspective. So it tells more about the individual than it tells of the individual. So when you hear the shaming language, this isn't necessarily a critique about you, because they don't know who you are. They don't know what your past history is. And this, as we understand that they don't know these things. They don't have any idea about what your past relationship history is, what your penis size is, if your mama is actually black. They don't know that, because you could be adopted and you may not even know your mother. You can't consider, me personally, I wouldn't consider someone who gave me up for adoption my mother. Yes, she's biologically my mother, but I don't have that common tie with her to call her my mother. She's just a fertility donor, pretty much. And I know many people who are adopted who think that way. But nonetheless, the critique of you as an individual in its form of shaming language is a critique of the individual who is giving the shaming language, meaning the level of understanding that they have, or level of lens that they see you through. So when they start off with, just because you don't agree with them, or that you're giving them some type of pushback, they aren't shaming you because you don't agree with them necessarily. It's because they have this internalized sentiment about how they view you before any words come out of your mouth. Because remember, the critique is about the individual giving the critique rather than the individual who is being critiqued. You get me? So next time that you hear a woman trying to shame you who doesn't even know you, look at that as nothing more than a projection of how they view themselves and how they view you as a human and individual. But anyways, like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Patreon. Both links will be in the description at some point. But until next time, this has been the Wolf in Beta Clothes. May you have a good day, and peace be with you.